Welcome students from chapter 1 introduction to the internet. Today we are going to have the sixth and last video lecture from this chapter, that is chapter 1. Previous we have already 5th video lectures, and those video lectures we have discussed on various topics. Today's topic, which is the last topic of the topic from the chapter 1. Before going to proceed to today's topic, let us see the previous lecture, what we have learned. In the previous chapter, we have discussed on how the web works, surfing the web. That means how the website is working and how we can access or surf the internet. Hypertext transfer protocol, HTTP, hypertext markup language, HTML, which is used to create the HTML document. Publishing a web page, how we can publish a web page after creating your HTML document. You need to publish your web page so that others can surf or access it. Then web address, letter addressing system, then number addressing system. All these already have discussed on the previous lecture. So today's topic is network classes. Uniform resource locator, short form is URL. Structure of a URL, service, address, and port number. So these following things with this resource location and absolute URL and relative URL you are going to discuss. So in the last video, we are going to discuss about network classes, uniform resource locator, structure of URL, and URL that service, and that in the service how address and port number, how we can identify. We'll know that resource location, the resource from where we will get that location, and that location also divided into two parts, which is absolute URL and relative URL. So we will discuss on these various topics on today's lecture. So let us proceed. So first of all, network classes. The first step in the process of IP addressing is to determine which network class is appropriate for your network. The second step is to obtain a network number from the Internet Corporation for assigned names and numbers, ICANN. Internet Corporation for assigned names and numbers, ICANN, an organization that administers the internet. It means in the first step, the process of IP addressing. IP addressing, IP means internet protocol. Already we have discussed in the previous lectures. Internet protocol addressing, to determine it, which network class is appropriate for your network. For that, second step, it needs to obtain a network number from where? ICANN. And this is an organization administrates the internet. So to determine that which network class is appropriate for your network. And second is to get a permission, which is a permission from ICANN, and which is an organization uh, administering the internet. So these two things is required in the network classes to access the network. At present, there are three classes of TCP/IP networks are there. At present, uh, TCP means transmission control protocol and internet protocol. No? Each classes uses the 32-bit IP address space differently. That is, providing fewer or more bits for the network part of the address. These classes are class A, class B, and class C. So at present, what happened? Three classes are using in a network: TCP/IP, transmission control protocol, and IP, using the three networks. And each network is uses the 32-bit internet protocol address space differently, and this providing fewer or more bits for the network part of the address. And these classes are A, B, and C. And these classes you are going to learn in your when you will study in your higher classes. Okay. Today on this topic network classes, first of all, what we have learned, the first step is to determine your IP address, which IP address is appropriate for your network. And second step is to get permission from ICANN, which is an administration the internet. And TCP/IP is using three classes nowadays, that means at present, and each class using 32-bit IP address. And these classes are A, B, and C. Okay, so let us proceed to the next topic. And next is uniform resource locator. Full form is uniform resource locator, and short form is URL. Uniform resource locator, or in short URL, is the method by which a document or data is addressed on the web. Just like every computer/network has a unique address, every entity on the web has a unique URL to help trace it. The URL contains the following information. So uniform resource locator, actually it is a method for what purpose? So that a document or a data is addressed on the web. Document or data, whichever you are keeping in your computer, those are called data. In a document, if you are to address on the web, for that URL, uniform resource locator, is required. It is just like a what? Computer net or network has a unique address. Every computer network has a unique address, as already we have discussed in the previous lectures and all, that every computer is having a unique address, IP address, internet protocol address, and with unique URL, so that it can be traced. And the URL contains the following information: the type of service that the resource is served by, hypertext transfer protocol or file transfer protocol, etc. The type of service that the resource is served by. Resources served by means, in the previous lectures, as I have discussed on TCP, transmission control protocol, then IP address. First of all, we identify the IP address, and transmission control protocol will transfer the data. No, when we transfer the data with the help of HTTP hypertext transfer protocol, that will transfer according to through HTTP only it will transfer, and when it will transfer hypertext transfer protocol, because all the web documents are hypertext markup language, hypertext markup language, that when we will send it with the help of hypertext transfer protocol we will send, then when it will send, at that time file transfer protocol will help. So the type of service that the resource is served by is HTTP and FTP hypertext, because all the internet documents are hypertext language only, and file transfer protocol will help you to transfer it. Then the domain name of the site, that is the domain name of the site, and that is www.op.com, containing the resource, document, data, etc. That means in second is first you see the HTTP and file transfer protocol will help, and from where the domain name, that means a website. No, this is the domain name. From this domain address only will collect the document or data. After collecting only it can possible to transfer it. Next, the internet port number of the service. If this is omitted, the browser assumes a commonly accepted default value. The internet port number of the service. The internet port number, if it is not there, port number. Port number means here you see www.op.com. After that, it will be shown. That we are going to discuss the next topic. The location of the resource in the directory structure of the server. Then you see port, it will connect to the port, then from the port the location will identify and pick from there, and after then it will be transferred. Okay, so these following things are using under URL. No, these following informations are using under URL. Let's see. So now let us see the next topic. Next topic is structure of URL. Now we are going to be on the structure of a URL, which is already given here, and we are going to be discuss these following things. Okay. On the structure of a URL, the following is an outline of the most common form of URL. This part is called HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol service, and www.address.edu domain name. This is called host. After that, this is called port, and after that path. Path is what? Here the file and the resource details you will get. So first of all, you need to get a service. That means URL, uniform resource locator, uh, will provide you the service, and from there to get a service you need a domain name. From the domain name only you will get the information, and under the domain name, if the information is kept in any port, then we will go to that port, and under that port, which port, it can be many port. So under that port, path means here, there you will get your file or data or the resource details you get. Okay, so the first part, HTTP service. The first part of the URL is the service specifier. Service. What type of service you are having? Here, HTTP service. Hypertext transfer protocol. Why? This service always is shown because internet documents are hypertext markup language. So hypertext transfer protocol with that service can be transferred, which indicates the access method, that is the protocol used to access data on the web. This is the part before the colon. That means which is the one before the colon? HTTP. This part. Okay. I'll try and show this is the part before the colon. That means this is the part HTTP. This part before the colon. So HTTP, for what purpose? Actually, it indicates access method, that is protocol used to access data on the web. Protocol which you're going to use to access the data on the web, and that part is before the colon. Okay. Next is address and port number. Let us see the address and port number. Which is the one? This is the one. Address and these two, port number. Okay. These two. Okay. Let us see. The second part is usually the internet address of the server, indicated by the double forward slash. By this double forward slash, no? Here. Okay. This address can also contain the optional port number at which the service is listed. The full name is specified by a string www.address.edu.colon123 slash, where colon 123 means the port number 123. If you want to use the default port number, you can leave out both the colon and the number, retaining only www.address.edu. In address and port, here it has separated by double slash from the before colon. Here this is called the service, and from the double slash onwards it is an address, which can be optional. Here you can see address www.address.edu. This is a host, that means the domain name, and under the domain colon 123 slash, that is called port. And if you want to use the default port number means what? This is the one. I'll show you. Default is, this is the one. What's this? This is the domain. The whole domain name itself also a default port number. Under that main domain, if you are creating a separate part, that is called a port. Okay. So if you want to remain, if you want to use the default port number, then you can type this. Okay, which is given here, www.address.edu. And this we have discussed only which part? Service, host or the domain address, and the port. Okay, now let us see the next. Resource location. The forward slash after the host and port specifications indicates the end of the address and the beginning of the specification for the file of the resource to be accessed. The resource is specified by a path relative to the root directory of the server. Okay, you can see here the resource location, the forward slash. Which is the forward slash? I'll show you here. This is the forward slash. This is this part. No? This is the one, forward slash. The forward slash after the host part, no, after which part? After the host and port part, that forward slash specification indicates that what? The end of the address. That means end of the address means what? Your file or the resource or the data where you will get. That is the end of the address. And the beginning of the specification of the file resource. And that end of the address and beginning of the specification of your file or data. That means what? That means this is your whole address to access or serve the resource. And after the slash, last slash part is forward slash part is the last address. Okay, end of your address, domain address now. And in that last address you will find the file or resource or the data of your document. Got the point? Okay, so this resource location is completed. Service, host, port, and file and resource location data, how from where we'll get it. No. Next is absolute URL. A fully qualified URL that specifies the exact location of a resource, file, object, directory residing on the internet is called an absolute URL. An absolute URL is independent, that is free from any relationship. For example, www.elsan.com images book.gif specifies the image file book.gif located in the images directory under elsan.com domain name. Absolute URL means the file or the resource that will specifically it will be identified with the help of absolute URL. That means it is an independent, and the last name of the address which will indicates that that file or the resource or the data is located in the particular directory here, which is the one, which is the document or the data, this part, this is book.gif. that means book.gif, that is a image, and that is under which domain? Under domain www.elsan.com. okay, so absolute URL you'll get with the direct domain with the address. That means if you want to download any topics on the internet, and on that topics absolute URL, if you know, then direct your file will open on the screen. We do not know the absolute URL, because of that we are typing on the Google search engine. The Google search engine is collecting the information from different server and displaying after we are clicking and on checking it. Okay, so absolute URL means the direct you can get it. Here with the help of image they have given the example. Okay, so next is relative URL. The relative URL, a partially qualified URL, is one of the specifies a resource, file or directory on the internet whose location relative to the present file or directory specified by an absolute URL. Okay. Relative URL, when we are typing any information on the internet, search on the internet, maybe on the search engine, when you are going to surf or search any about any information or on any topic. After typing, you will see Google mainly, mostly we are using the Google search engine. So that time many websites list will appear based on your particular topic. That is the relative URL, because the absolute URL do not know. If you know the absolute URL, the direct from that particular server will get your information or data or resource. So when we do not know those, that time we are using the relative URL. Just we are typing the topic or information which you want to know on the search engine, and search engine will search from different domain names. Okay. So in this chapter, what we have learned in the last chapter, no, before we are going to the homework part, let us see what we have completed. No, network classes, the uniform resource location, and network classes also need to get the permission from no ICN, then the uniform resource location. Information on there which you need to know, that the structure of URL, no, structure of URL, then this under structure of URL we have large service, domain part, no, domain name part, how many how many categories it is divided: service, host, port, file, and resource details, no, then resource location, then absolute URL and relative URL. So uh, today, after this is the last video for chapter 1. And from this topic, I have prepared just few questions, 1, 2, 3, 4 questions only. And first question is: expand the form ICAN. And what is URL? How many classes of TCP IP networks are there? What is the common form of a URL? Okay, so this you homework, do it and send it to me. Thank you very much and bye bye.